best of three. Bipolar method is up on the left side of your screen, and the exposed secrets from last match is on the right side of your screen. The question is, how will this picking stage progress? We're going to see the first bandit come out from Bipolar method in just a second here, about 10 seconds left on the picking, and I expect to see a Hercules. Athena gets picked out here, get banned out here. Now the question is, will Hercules survive for today?
No, I mean, Hercules is going to be banned by exposed secrets. I think he is the character that's going to be first picked throughout today. So I do expect Sobek to be banned, possibly Hunbots or Thor, but I mean, I really don't expect Hercules to make it through the banning phase.
Next band to come out here from Exposed Series will be ISIS, surprisingly enough. We haven't seen ISIS banned in quite some time. Now back over to Bipolar Method. It is their band to choose. 20 seconds left in this banning phase. They're going to go Hercules right off the bat. Not really too surprising there. Now back over to Exposed Secrets to see what they want to ban. There are one Brawler to tank Athena take off the table, and of course the mid with ISIS. The question is, what do they want to go for? They want to go for a jungler? Most likely something like a Fenrir or a Hunbots or a Thor would be what I would expect.
Well, I mean, I'm actually really surprised they got rid of Hercules. I mean, I would have forced the Hercules ban onto Exposed Secrets and then either first picked him if it didn't go through, but they do love their Sobek, so they want to make sure they pick him up as soon as possible. Bacchus is going to be picked up here. I'm surprised we're not going to see the Bacchus-Neith combo we see almost every game, but Thor's going to be grabbed as well. Again, someone that's always surprising getting through the banning phase.
Yeah, it seems like the more effective gods we have in the game, the less there is to kind of shut down the enemy team. Obviously, with Athena brought in, it added more depth to support tanks. Isis obviously added more depth to the mid. When the depth gets bigger and bigger, no matter what you ban, there's still going to be good things on the table to be picked up. And this is kind of how the picking phase has gone today. It's just the Bacchus, the Thor always gets picked together. We see a ranged physical and then a mid being picked up in response. Arachne thrown out there just to possibly send a message to all the Arachne lovers out there. Agni and Apollo going to be locked in there for Bipolar Method. Now back over to Exposed Secrets. Ra is going to be on the table right now. And the second pick, I expect them to pick up Freya. It seems like they have a lot of affinity to Freya, and it worked well for them.
Waiting for it. So yes, Ra is going to be hovered over, one of the stronger characters, and as Dry predicted, Freya is going to be grabbed immediately. Will Zim block this in? He's a few seconds left, and he will. Final two picks remaining on the Bipolar Method side. Still needing their jungler and their ranged. I'm sorry, no, the ranged picked up. They need jungler and possibly support, depending on whether they're going to put Sobek on support or solo. So they do have a little bit of, I guess, ambiguity on their team so far, but it's going to be locked out here. Loki going to be going into the jungle, and Vamana going to be picked up most likely for the solo lane.
Yeah, certainly. What most people would expect here is the Apollo Sobek laning together, Agni middle lane, and then Vulcan slash Vamana in the solo, and they might be going for a Vulcan here. We've seen Bipolar Method literally be the only team with an affinity towards Vulcan. It does work well. Spoo plays a fantastic Vulcan. Hyrok as well, but Hyrok's more the jungler now. So we'll see how this works out for them and how they want to play it. Poseidon's going to be the last pickup here for Exposed Secrets, a strong mid or even a solo lane pickup there. They do have the Ra for the solo lane. Both Poseidon and Ra do well in the solo lane, depending on how the jungler situation works out. And with the jungle Loki, they have to be a little bit careful.
Well, usually with Ra has a slightly better escape than Poseidon. Inherent slows built into his kit. Of course, movement speed, always able to be activated. You don't lose movement speed for using abilities. Granted, Trident's going to give you a little bit, but it's not really compared to Ra. On the other hand, Poseidon does have the innate ability to just put the Kraken down and either scare you away or do an absolutely absurd amount of damage, almost guaranteed, against chasers. So I think either one would be really capable to go to either lane. Freya we're probably going to see put in the range role with the Bacchus, and then of course Thor going into the jungle.
Nothing really too surprising there. Thor, one of those powerful jungles, not only with a whole lot of damage output, mobility, but also a very, very game-changing ultimate. When he dunks down with Anvil of Dawn, has Tecton Rift to follow up with, and a lot of burst damage. He's a very good character to turn the team fight around in your favor, something we've seen time and time again. But again, today is the day of oddities. We have Vulcan in this match. Previously, we had Anubis, and before that, Zeus. So a lot of characters that don't really see play are seeing some play today. We're going to see the Golden Vulcan, actually. You see him in all his splendor back there in the lineup. But of course, you can see at the top of the screen, we have about 2 minutes just over left on the spectator delay. We're going to cut to a timer, allow you to get a drink and get a snack and get ready to go. And when the match is ready and the action is starting, we will bring it directly to you. So stick around and be prepared. This is going to be Game 1 of the Grand Finals EU Tournament Conquest number 14. Bipolar Method up against Exposed Secrets, and we'll bring you the action as soon as it gets started.
Stick around, guys.
Hey. Hey everyone, welcome back to Game 1 of the Grand Finals! We're watching Bipolar Method up against Exposed Secret. They're in the match, they're ready to go, they're heading in the jungle, they're looking for blood. This is going to be Game 1 of a best-of-3 series, so you always got to pay attention to the first game. The first game sets the pace for the rest of the series, and it's important to watch it closely. You can see them heading out here. Let's go and cover the players and who's going where before too much happens. They may be running into each other into the jungle here. A ward comes out. Bipolar Method, blue team. The bottom side of the map, we're going to have Badger up on Sobek, putting that ward down and heading back to base. Next one will be Hyrock up on Loki. Spoo on Vulcan across the map will be showing the right lane. Looks like they might be running to the middle lane. Speaking of the middle lane, Lobster up on Augie, dashes away to save himself. And of course, last but not least, Young Bay up on Apollo. The opposite side of the map, Exposed Secret. We have Murder up on Bacchus leading the charge there. We have next to him Zimp on the Rod, probably in that solo lane. Bobby Koff on Thor in the jungle. Fun Ball on Freya in that carry role. And Shadow Nightmare playing Poseidon in the middle lane.
Speaking of the middle lane, there is a massive grouping. 5 players from Exposed Secrets trying to find a way into the jungle safely. The belly flop is not going to grab anything. Badger just diving in there. Charged prey into the tower there. Is going to take one shot. Bobbykoff getting low, but Badger is going to go down here. The first blood going to Exposed Secrets due to a little bit of an overextension and absolute greed from Badger. While there was a decent amount of damage that went onto Thor, he earned it back very quickly, and they will earn the first camp of the game as well, as you see them rotating over on BM to the left side of the map to try to grab that camp. Bobby's going to be moving over as well. Not really sure where he's going. Maybe to look to find someone out of position here. He does have the dash available, but he's stuck in the whirlpool. Lobster taking a lot of damage and 2 kills so far for Exposed Secrets.
They're coming out to play today. You saw the engagement from Sobek. He got very greedy there, as DM mentioned to you. Tried to go for a close charge prey, but ended up missing and going to the back lines to grab a Thor, which of course the further out you go, the less distance you can throw them closer to the tower. So Thor just barely tippy-toed into the tower and stepped right back out. Not really what Sobek was looking for. So he dashed forward, hit the back target, and stuck inside of 5 players getting picked off there. And right as they went over the left lane, or left area of the middle lane to clear out those medium camps, there goes the kill right on top of that Agni. A crazy engagement there in the middle lane, and now we have a 1,400 gold difference for Exposed Secrets, 2-0 here at the 1 minute mark.
You know, the illusion of safety that these towers provide people, they think they're invincible when they're somewhat near them. With the amount of CC that people have, even at level 2 or level 3, and proper use and chaining of those CCs will allow any team to pick off any character without beads almost instantaneously. Now you saw the you saw the cripple come out after the belly flop to ensure that he was stuck in there. Berserker Barrage ticking massively, doing a ton of damage and ensuring that going into the beginning of this game, Thor is going to be starting 1-0-1, leading 300 gold ahead of Freya, who also earned herself a kill and is now level 3 in the jungle. At this point in the game, it's very, very dangerous, especially on a character like
throwing him
Thor.
back into the Apollo, doing some damage. They're so close. There's the moves, and one more hit should be able to do it, and Funball falls in the left lane. Excellent engagement there. Sobek waited as long as he needed to wait. Now jumping top of Bacchus. Bacchus' belly flop. He belly flops away. They're leading it, and there's the So Beautiful, and beautiful it was, as Apollo gets a double kill in the left lane, and previously we had 2-0. Bipolar Method comes back and responds with their own 2 kills.
You know, Badger trying to make up for his blunder in the beginning, earns Young Bay his carry, 2 kills in the process, 2,600, only 100 gold behind the Thor, who wound up very, very big in the beginning. So this is going to be a pretty good turnaround for them. You see Young Bay now level 5 will have the inherent ability to rotate to any part of the map with Across the Sky so long as his mana permits. Now moving back towards the backside, you see Hyrox sitting level 4 right now with the red buff. It should be ticking off fairly soon. But they're actually going to give the speed buff to Badger. This will allow him to set up charge praise easier and then reposition himself for even better tail whips. And I'm sure that's going to work out in their favor, as Young Bay is already very fed, and getting him any more kills is going to make this a very uphill battle for Exposed Secrets.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's something that, you know, the Exposed Secrets is looking to prevent that. So Sobek, and looking for opportunity to charge, he's kind of just doing his little wiggle-waggle dance there, and just kind of psyching them out a bit. Freya, of course, not really the best character to deal with, you know, an initiation like Sobek. If you miss the banish, you're kind of caught out. No natural disengage besides her ultimate, which she may not want to be forced out on her, you know, the enemy's terms. She wants to use it on her own terms. We're going to see Vulcan solo in the right lane quite effectively, actually keeping his minions off his tower. Something we've seen before, as you see him have a bit of a graphical bug leaning down here from the back part, and there it goes, falls off there. But again, something we see from Vulcan previously was a very, very strong solo laner, and after the addition of the gold loss on towers, Vulcan kind of fell out of favor a bit, even in the small amount of favor he had as it was, just because it's hard for him to keep the minions off the tower in the very beginning. But Spoo doing a great job of that. We see him getting going in the middle lane, helping out with those medium camps, and Lobster assisting as well. So Vulcan doing a job of holding down his right lane and pushing the Raw back.
Now, Exposed Secrets, despite the fact that they're 2-2 right now, still leads by about 500 gold due to some pretty solid farming in the beginning, forcing Lobster back into his tower. Now, 3 members of Exposed Secrets are now moving over towards the left side to not only grab this camp, but possibly find themselves an opportunity to rotate over towards the left and maybe get some kills. Or, nope, looks like they're going to be going back towards the gold camp here. Red should be respawning pretty quickly as well, as we are moving towards the little over 4-minute mark. And as the buffs, most of the buff camps in the game do have a 4-minute respawn timer. So this will allow them to start rotating around once again and really looking for more opportunities to get gold. Now, in the meantime, it's a lot of damage coming on to Shadow Nightmare. A great dodge in the back is going to ensure that he dodges and gets out safely. Lobster's putting himself in a bad position as well. A great gank by Hyrox does not equate to a kill due to a perfect Kraken and an absolutely brilliant dodge out of that Agni Meteor in the end to send Shadow Nightmare back to the base, regain his health, and it looks like Agni's going to do the same thing, so nothing lost really for Shadow Nightmare in that situation. Really impressive stuff.
We see Agni in the middle lane clearing out this wave, pushing it back towards the tower. Raw is in the right lane pushing up against the Vulcan here. We're going to see the Freya pushing the left lane, and it seems like it's more of a freeze situation where they don't really want to do too much just yet. And you see this from a lot of veteran players where they're willing to just wait for their opportunity and just be very patient until it shows up and then capitalize on it immediately. And that's what you're seeing from both teams right now. They're not really looking for any ganks unless the gank presents itself. They're just farming the jungle, making sure they keep up in their gold. Just about 1,000 gold behind is the Bipolar method. Exposed Secrets taking a pretty dominant lead thus far in the early stages of the laning phase, but it's going to come down to the rotations that happen and whether or not the team fights start early.
So still 2-2 right now, despite many ganks, now leading by about 700 gold. Looks like their lead is increasing repeatedly. Hyrox kind of putting himself in a bad position there, but they are going to earn it on Exposed Secrets regardless, and Hyrox going to be pushed back towards the middle lane to help go, but it looks like Thor's going to dive in as well. Exposed Secrets is maybe in a little bit of trouble here. Nice Tectonic Rift there, and an extra amount of damage from Mjolnir's attunement, but the bombs on Lobster's going to be able to finish him up, only taking a little bit of damage from the combo, enough for him to get out, and you can see that Poseidon does not have a lot of mana, so he will retreat. So for the first time this game, Bipolar Method is really going to start trying to take the lead. Only about 200 gold behind now, and they're going to have an opportunity to push this lane as fast as possible, which really could give them the lead.
It certainly could, and with how close it is, it can go back and forth. You see the distance is very, very small now. You see about 200 goal difference between these two teams, 3-2. 6 minutes and 45 seconds. Looking for a charge spray, a great banish will prevent that over here in the left-hand lane. Sobek still lurking out, looking for a way to make this lane a little bit more in Bipolar Method's favor. Just kind of grab a kill on Freya. Freya obviously a very, very prime target for that charge spray. Once she's caught out, she's caught out. And Apollo level 9 at this point versus the Freya's level 8. I mean, obviously the Bacchus and Sobek are the same level, but Apollo doing a great job of keeping his farm up. And now going for the Heartseeker. So you're going to have a Heartseeker stacked up. The Vulcan has the Doom Orb as well as the Raw. So we see a lot of stacking items this game, and it's going to pay off a lot if Apollo can keep getting that lead further and further ahead.
You know, ever since the change to the Heartseeker and the Doom Orb, where they only lose half stacks instead of all of their stacks upon death, it really seems like players have taken affinity to them. They really know that the amount of damage that these two items are putting forth are really worth the risk. Jumping in here, Poseidon taking a lot of damage, does get ultimated, misses the Meteor, but gets the stun off the 4-1 combo. Hyrox might go down here. Another shot onto Bobby's going to put him into a matter of unsafety. Hyrox should have his stealth available in a few seconds, but doesn't get it up in time. A nice dodge there. Once again, stun into Flame Wave. He's going to be able to do a lot of damage. Rotating over is Raw, dropping the heal down, giving him just enough to get out of there. But Youngbei jumps in and grabs the kill there as well. So far, a 2-for-2 exchange. Youngbei now fighting Murder, and here comes Badger trying to get something as well. Murder using Intoxicate just to try to get himself out of there. Badger's probably going to use Creeping Curse here. Yes, he does. Sickening Strike's going to slow them, do some damage as well, but it looks like the disengage has already begun. So just putting more kills onto Youngbei, who's trying to get that Heartseeker. I really think that was in the favor of Bipolar Method, who is now currently 500 gold behind, but is consistently putting the gold onto the right people on the team.
So the Kraken come out there, more of a defensive strategy, making sure that Apollo as well as the Sobek get zoned out enough where they can't initiate on him. Kind of just throws out the Whirlpool as well as the Kraken just zoning them, making sure they don't jump in. Obviously the charge break can come through as well as the dash in from the moves with Apollo with enough burst damage. Possibly could have gotten the Apollo or the Poseidon in the middle lane, so he's just going to run back to his tower, use his cooldowns. Looking at the gold difference, about 400 between these two teams right now, 5-5 here, crossing over towards the 9-minute mark. We're going to see Freya solo in the left lane, actually forcing Sobek back, who's low on mana at this current point, just hitting level 9, matching up with the Freya. We're going to see 3-0 for the Apollo as he dashes in with his ultimate, lands down from the Fire Giant, and clears off that Thor kill. So Apollo just doing so good early on, and now has that Heartseeker going to start stacking that up, and this is going to get to the point where Apollo is going to be a big driving force for Bipolar Method. We see an engagement over here on the right side of the jungle. Looks like Loki got picked off there. Poseidon comes out with the Whirlpool, but Ra dies in the process. So 1-for-1 exchange, Loki for Ra, but that's still going to put Exposed Secret slightly ahead, about 700 gold.
So, I mean, I would really love to see the stats on how Loki has been doing in tournaments. It seems over the past couple weeks he's been a very popular character since last I started playing him in tournament a lot, but I don't think that he's really had a lot of, I guess, success in these events. I mean, he always seems to do pretty well, but then as you get into the late game, it becomes harder and harder. Thor and Youngbei both getting picked off there, two of the strongest characters currently in the game. That will also hurt some of the stacks. Now, Badger taking a lot of damage, but will deal some back. A stun on the Funball. He does not have his ultimate available. Jumping in there, Murder's going to put himself in a bad spot as Shadow Nightmare goes back to the base. But that's finally the first time that we've seen Bipolar Method take the lead here. Oh no, once again, they're still a few hundred gold behind. But now that they have the chance to farm, this could be their opportunity to get themselves slightly ahead. You see Loki going over towards the right side. I'm sorry, the left side of the map. This will be a full opportunity for him to gain some experience. Vulcan getting back over towards the right as well will only miss a few creeps as you see them burn down a lot and then use the sprint to get away from the Ra. 24-4 to 24-6 right now, 8-7. Exposed Secrets has a slight lead, but it's definitely negligible at this point. In terms of level, it looks like we're also pretty even, so the game is looking right down the middle.
It certainly is. It's something you'd expect to see from the grand finals. We see Agni getting jumped on by Poseidon. He rotates into the middle lane, and all of a sudden Poseidon just blows all of his cooldowns trying to burn down the Agni. Agni actually just barely escapes with by the skin of his teeth with the Path of Flames there. Agni now coming back to mid lane, knows the Poseidon doesn't have his ultimate. He's pretty much safe. The Whirlpool Tidal Surge would come out, but it's not enough burst damage to finish him off here. You see Agni kind of just go in for an engagement. Throws out a Meteor on the way, just going to clear this out just a bit. There's the Flame Wave as well, but not really a whole lot Poseidon can do about it. He's actually going to go over and try and clear out this medium camp on the left side, or the right side of the middle lane here. Right lane, we see the Vulcan face up against the Ra. Vulcan actually doing a good job of holding this down, but we see the Ra actually pulling slightly ahead in experience and gold, just because the Ra has had successful ganks, whereas the Vulcan has more less so. I mean, 0 kills and 2 assists versus the 1 kill and 3 assists for the Ra, and the Ra also has the stacked up Doomar, which is, the Ra died a little bit less recently than the Vulcan did. So there is the push coming out from the Ra. Middle lane, we see another engagement coming out. Sobek getting jumped on here in the jungle. Bok is taking a lot of damage. There is the lurking in the waters. The Whirlpool comes out as well. Tidal Surge on top. The Freya's going up there doing a lot of damage. Sobek ends up falling. Dashing away is the Agni, but a great banish will keep him in place, and Agni will lose his life. They traded Agni and Sobek for the Bok, as that definitely benefits Exposed Secrets very, very heavily, and now we're 9-9 with just about a 900 gold lead just again. As they start Gold Fury.
I mean, it actually might get much bigger as the Gold Fury starts. Loki in the middle lane does not recognize this, and almost instantaneously, the Gold Fury's health just gets annihilated, and that's going to earn them another 1,500 gold, plus the gold in mid lane that they did not manage to send into the tower. Only one creep getting hit there. So 9-9 with 12 minutes. Exposed Secrets leading by over 2,000 gold. What a swing.
Certainly, Fire Giant now heading over into this area. I mean, all of a sudden, this is how it goes in the Smite area. It's very easy for a team to take a small advantage or a big pick on a team fight, or 2 picks, and they turn that into an objective. They turn that into a tower. They turn that into more than it was on the surface, just because by getting those picks, you have the room to do so. And we saw Bipolar Method get picked off there in the jungle, and Exposed Secrets capitalize on it immediately, getting that Gold Fury, and now they're sitting about 2,000 gold up on Bipolar Method, when previously it was a completely even game.
All right, so moving forward here, going towards the 13-minute mark, the levels are starting to peer away just a little bit. Lobster, of course, doing his absolute damnedest to stay relevant in the game. 14-14 in the mid lane. He's doing a great job there. Loki diving in. He's going to get smacked by the Kraken. A lot of damage coming through. That will be a completely perfect counter initiation. Lobster misses one of his meteors there as he does get baited out. He will dash out, but that's a 2-for-0 exchange. Thor jumping down but missing the ultimate to ensure that Lobster will be able to get out safely, but still 2 for 2 right now as they chase down Badger towards the right side of the map near the speed buff. He's putting himself in a very bad spot, and it doesn't look like Lobster's going to have an opportunity to defend just yet, but he's going to rotate over. It looks like he has one meteor available that should be getting back up as soon as possible. A nice beam from Raw, just barely dodged by great communication from Badger. But jumping in there, it looks like Bobby might be in some trouble here. Does take the ticks from the Path of Flames and will go down. So somehow got out of there in an even exchange, but they did pick off the right people. 13 and 14 leveled exposed secrets characters goes down there as opposed to 13 and 12. So that was definitely in favor of Bipolar Method in that exchange.
Yeah, very risky move there by Badger on Sobek. Decided to cut through the tower instead of going across the enemy jungle. Wanted to get closer to his teammates as fast as he possibly could, and right as he did, Audi came out with a very clutch stun, preventing the Thor from chasing, and then put out so much damage that if the Thor continued to chase, he would get very, very low, and indeed he did. So by following Sobek into the battle there, ended up losing his life to the Agni follow-up, and that is exactly what you'd expect from a competitive team. Now, something if you're watching, a solo conquest, you're playing by yourself with your friends, you won't have the same decisions, because a lot of times you can't really expect that kind of team coordination and cohesion coming out from your teammates, allowing you to dash into your teammates through a tower and live and get a kill in the process, but that's something you'll definitely see from a team like Bipolar Method.
So Gold Fury still down, only 1 tower so far. Is really close to dead here, and you see the first kill in this exchange getting grabbed there. High Rock picking off Zimp, which is a pretty big kill, level 15 right now. He will be dead for close to a minute, and that will give Spoo ample opportunity to start solo farming and maybe get some damage on this tower as well. This is great considering that his tower is at critical condition, sitting below 10% health right now, can be picked off just by someone diving in if they're so brazen. But jumping in, Bobbykoff's just going to use Berserker Barrage to clear that wave as fast as he possibly can, as well as the Inferno Cannon, but he's going to take a backfire there and some creep damage, putting him way below half, and it's going to make him back off.
Yeah, then head back to the tower there. Looks like Thor's going to end up heading back to the base. Bobbykoff has had enough of defending this lane for the Ra, who will be returning in about 7 seconds here and heading back to his lane. Loki actually had a great pick on that Ra on the right lane. Left lane, Freya barely escaped with her life. She had about 2 HP left, went up into Valkyrie's discretion and floated away. And of course, the CC from the box prevented them from being able to chase. And Apollo did not have his ultimate at the time, so did not have the ability to fly over the tower and finish off that Freya. So Freya will survive to fight another day, head back to the base and heal up and head back to the lane. And now it's back to the Apollo Sobek versus the Bacchus and Freya over in the left lane. So Bipolar Method takes a kill lead now, 12-11 after the kill on the Ra in the right lane. The gold is still about 2,000 gold between these two teams. Exposed Secret still up about 1,800 gold on Bipolar Method here at the 16-minute mark. So doing a great job of holding on to that lead. But again, against a team of Bipolar Method, you gotta wonder how big of a lead is enough.
I mean, I don't think any lead in this game is ever going to be enough. You're always going to want to try to play as perfect as possible. I mean, we've seen so many teams, up 8 to 10,000 gold in tournament throw games because, they were just out of position. They got a little bit greedy. They thought they could do things, possibly they couldn't, and they're not focusing up. And despite that fact, Exposed Secrets has been ahead for most of this game, and you saw them start to kind of lose their advantage here because of great rotations and proper combinations from Bipolar Method. Not to mention the fact that Lobster is unbelievably great at farming, sitting level 17 right now, highest in the game, even ahead of the minute clock, which is usually starting to peer away after the 10-minute mark. He's doing a great job so far, and he's absolutely fearless in lane, despite the fact that he was down at one point, just continuously pushes Poseidon back to the tower, ensuring that he can try to strip at least some of the gold, but of course, Poseidon's clearing power is a little bit too much, and he's never going to miss a creep when he has the advantage.
Freya going for a kill here on the Apollo, pops her ultimate. Apollo just barely escapes by distance rather than anything else. Freya gets pulled out by the Sobek. Of course, just go ahead and disengage. She's at full HP. Thor and Bacchus are now here looking for an opportunity to kill off this Sobek who's sitting in the jungle. They do have a good ward up in front of the Gold Fury, which allows vision of this junction point all the way over to the left-hand lane. So Sobek will be spotted out if he tries to rotate over. Loki in the middle lane kind of helping out the Agni, pushing this wave back. Both the left side and right side medium camps in the middle lane have been cleared out at this point in time. So Loki's kind of looking for an opportunity to gank here. You see Ra in the right lane. Vulcan is here in the meantime, so if the opportunity presents itself, they definitely will capitalize on it. And they need to be careful here because Bipolar Method's right side tier 1 tower is at critical HP. So any kind of mess up, any kind of missed gank or death in the right lane will surely be a tower for Exposed Secrets.
So Loki coming over towards mid lane, Agni sniffing this out as well. They are going to be able to push them back and then counter ward 2 wards out there to ensure that the vision of Gold Fury by Exposed Secrets is lost, but a great counter ward by Murder is going to ensure that they pick up one as well. So it doesn't look like they have much vision at all near the Gold Fury. Apollo by himself here. I don't know if he's going to be able to get out of this. Taking a lot of damage. He uses the moves. The Mesmerize was good as well, but Thor is up in the air. I don't know if Youngbei's going to have an escape here, but Loki is ready to go if that's the case. Dunks down there. You see Loki coming out as well. It looks like Hyrock is going to escape, just throwing that down to ensure that no one tries to chase him through. I mean, the decoy does a lot of damage, very high base, plus 100% scaling, so it could be very, very scary. Badger taking some damage from the Kraken. The Pulse or Radiate combo was enough to pick him off, so 2 for 0 right there for Exposed Secrets. And now actually they're going to go back instead of going for the Gold Fury. This is kind of a surprising play to me.
Yeah, definitely. Sobek getting picked off there towards the end, as well as the Apollo. Apollo definitely a prime target for Exposed Secrets. Not only is he very far ahead with lots of farm, he also has a Heartseeker, so getting that kill is incredibly important there. They just grouped up well enough to be able to pin down Apollo, and his team was a little bit late. Now, at this high of a play level for Smite, a second is a lot of time for rotations. If you're a second or two late, speaking of which, Volk actually caught out in the jungle here. There's Whirlpool, Tech Down Rift, and the belly flop as well. Belch of the Gods comes out, gets stunned out by Agni. Agni did the best he can to assist, but it's not going to be enough as Vulcan 2, who also has a Doom Orb, gets picked off there, and it's looking better and better for Exposed Secrets as they start the Gold Fury. Agni is here trying to assist. The Banish goes out but doesn't land. Thor actually looking to zone him out with Tecton Rip. Doesn't really want to get this stolen at all. They do have Hand of the Gods, tier 3 for the boxers, and there it goes, finishing him off at quarter HP. Thor's going to blink away. Loki goes in, probably going to go for the kill on the Thor. A very greedy decision. Decides to go for it and just barely gets it, but gets caught out here. There's the stun, and looks like Loki gets caught and blocked by the Buckets' just fat body. He's going to disengage here. A 1-for-1 exchange overall, but I don't know if that was necessary, as he does have a Heartseeker and Thor does not.
I mean, that was definitely insanely in the favor of Exposed Secrets. Thor sitting level 15, Loki sitting level 15, so they're going to be dead for an equal amount of time, but Thor died first to ensure that he can get back to lane a little bit sooner, only by a few seconds, but like you said, he will be losing stacks on his Heartseeker as well, not to mention they weren't able to pick anyone else off on top of the fact that they got Gold Fury, so there was a big gold swing for them. So going forward, 15 to 13, 20.5 right now, and we see a lead of getting close to 6,000 gold. Exposed Secrets is really running with this advantage that they've given themselves, just farming nonstop. And this is where you kind of see some of the top players really peer away from some of the mid-level players. And not to say that Bipolar method is mid, but just the idea of farming. They're not looking for every single opportunity to get kills. They find something out of position, they kill it, and then immediately they go back to clearing that jungle, clearing those waves, and keep farming. And that's actually one of the reasons that Lobster is such a great player. Despite the fact that his team is behind 6,000 gold, he still sits almost at the top of the money charts at 9,600, only 200 gold behind anyone on Exposed Secrets. And then, of course, was the first person to hit level 19 so far. So, I mean, it's really impressive to watch this guy play, because I don't think anybody in the world can farm as well as Lobster can.
Yeah, he's so fantastic at his positioning. And you can see just the amount of times he's come in clutch for his teammates with a great stun. Or he seems like he's in the right place at the right time for the most part. I mean, always aware, and the level of forethought that goes into his play is something that's awe-inspiring. Especially even casting this for so long, it's amazing to watch someone like Lobster play. And you can see the damage output that he has. And even with someone like Agni, who does damage already, his numbers are always even surprising. So left lane, we'll see initiation here on the Sobek. Apollo's just going to go up in the air. He doesn't want to have any of this, doesn't want to give away another kill. He's going to go ahead and possibly dunk down. Sobek ends up surviving. Apollo dunks into 3 players. Thor goes up into the air, and now the rotations come over. Vulcan is here as well as the Sobek and the Agni, and I doubt Thor's going to want to go in this. He does indeed on the backside of the Apollo. There's a Berserker Barrage, check down Rift. Freya doing the most damage that she possibly can. Agni coming in and forcing the Freya backwards. She uses the Valkyrie's discretion defensively and cannot pick off a kill with it. There is the Belch of the Gods coming out soon. Poseidon still has his ultimate available to him. Not going to waste it on the Sobek, waiting for a squishy character to come out. There's the Whirlpool is on cooldown now. The turret doing some good damage to the Poseidon here, actually taking about half his HP, now down to a third just from the turret and the damage over time effect from the Agni. And looks like they might be disengaging here. There's a Whirlpool, there's the Kraken coming out on top of the Vulcan. Vulcan driving 1/3 HP, the Minos attunement, and Berserker Barrage will be enough. Freya just barely survives. She's run towards the tower, but there's the Apollo with it so beautiful. And beautiful it is indeed as Freya falls there, but when it's all said and done, the ashes have fallen and the dust goes away. Freya is dead as well as Vulcan, and so like a 2-for-1 exchange in favor of Exposed Secrets. And something to mention here on top of everything else, DM, is the fact that Freya does not have a stacking item, whereas, you know, the Agni does, the Vulcan does. The Vulcan lost his stacks yet again, and Vulcan's just having a hard time keeping those stacks up.
I mean, even so, he's doing a ridiculous amount of damage. If you saw that turret just kind of just blowing away Poseidon little by little, and he thinks to himself, I can take this, I can take a few more hits, I'm going to set up this kill, I'm going to find my team an opportunity. And by the time he really recognized the fact that he was taking damage, he was sitting below a third of his health, having to escape completely, couldn't even go back in at risk of losing his stacks, was pushed out completely. But Shadow Nightmare jumping into the front, who was the first person to hit level, I'm sorry, Zimp was the first person to hit level 20, moving up there with Shadow Nightmare to ensure that they get another objective cleared. So it's going to be 2 towers right now for them, as opposed to 0 towers taken on the Bipolar Method side, not to mention 2 Gold Furies in favor of Exposed Secrets as well, and they lead the game 17-14, on top of the fact that their farming has been unreal. So, I mean, we have a little over 7,000 gold lead right now at the 24-minute mark, and the levels are, again, starting to peer away. 2 level 20s right now sitting on Exposed Secrets, and Zimp grabs himself an early death there, you know, kind of getting caught out of position. Lobster playing perfectly in that exchange, and that's going to be a 75-second death for Zimp.
Yeah, great rotation there from the audience. Again, going back to Lobster and his excellent play. Loki went in with the girdle activation, jumping right on top of Rod, dropping down to about 1/3 HP. He sat in his Solar Blessing, healed himself back up, but again, Agni rotated over and the meteor started raining down, and that just proved to be too much DPS for Ra, played by Zimp, to deal with, and it eventually fell there in the right lane. Now, he does have a Doom on himself, and again, we come back to the stacking items and the importance they have in this fight. It's so important to just mention the fact that they just lose those stacks over and over and over, and you know, they only lose half, but again, if they get into the, you know, the teens, lower levels of those stacks, it's going to start to prove to be a non-effective item. The tower gets pushed down in the meantime by Youngbei in the left lane. More gold to be had by Bipolar Method, but again, when it's all said and done, there goes a Loki kill, a solo kill in the right lane, so they trade a tower for a kill on Loki, who does indeed have a Heartseeker himself, and now Exposed Secrets is up 18-15 with a huge 5,000 gold lead.
You can feel them kind of aching right here for that Ra heal, but still not up for a few seconds and will not have an immediate way to get to this. But the Gold Fury is taking a lot of damage. It's actually being tanked by the turrets right now, and has now switched its focus to Lobster, who is going to be backing off. Badger sitting very, very low right now, is going to need to regroup, but a great ultimate there from Spoo is going to push them out completely. Look at the damage just drilling out onto Zimp, but they clear it up. Murder's going to be diving into that as well, and now they're just diving into 4 people. Badger gets picked up, and now just trying to run away. Bobbycoff, the jungler, is just trying to get out of there. A great Tectonic Rift's going to stump 2 people, and then, of course, Mjolnir's Attunement Teleport's going to back him out. Going into this fight, it looks like it's going to be a 4v3 exchange. Youngbei looking for someone to jump on, jumps onto Murder. They're going for the tank and pushing Poseidon out of the fight. You see both getting very low, but Youngbei's in a terrible position, just barely getting the moves out before the cripple applied, but it looks like Youngbei was picked off before he was able to get out completely, and Exposed Secrets does earn themselves the Gold Fury, as Bobbycoff, who was able to go back to the base, was able to get back as soon as possible, and then of course use his ultimate to dive back in. So that's going to be a huge exchange for them, grabbing 3 kills for 0 plus the Gold Fury. That's a 1,500 gold swing on top of that. So 26 minutes, 21-15. They're leading. They're getting closer to that 10K mark, leading by about 8,000 gold right now.
Volk's going to come back into this jungle crowd, this damage buff, but that was a huge wing for Exposed Secrets. They're up a great deal of gold now, jumping on the Fire Giant. They don't really have a whole lot to defend themselves with. See them jumping on here. The Fire Giant's going to drop down to 1/10 HP and get finished off there immediately. Loki walks by and realizes the thing that just happened. That's going to make it very difficult for them to come back into this game. They're up about 8,000 gold, just about there, holding on to actually 7,000 gold now. 8,000, they just hit it there, kind of wavering back and forth. So now Frey's going to clear out the jungle, and it's looking better and better for Exposed Secrets. Now, something to point out that we don't see all too often is the fact that Frey actually picked up a Polynomicon. Now, this is something that isn't really a core item for anyone. It's kind of one of those items that you really look to if you need to get a pick. It's a single target item. It's going to give you a little bit of burst on your damage. It's going to slow down your overall DPS. Of course, it doesn't really have a whole lot of stats on it, but what you're looking for is that passive. When you activate a spell, you get a big bonus in burst damage, and that's what Freya's looking for. She wants to get a pick on Apollo. She wants to get a pick on Loki. She wants to get a pick on Agni, and given the opportunity, using that Polynomicon activation, we'll get a very quick activation, finish off the kill, and then back off, and that's really going to set the pace of the rest of the team fight.
You know, usually you see something like Polynomicon picked up 5th or 6th to ensure that you have enough damage to really make it strong enough. In this case, it's only going to add 185 mitigated, so it could wind up falling a little bit behind instead of going for something like Gem of Isolation. But with the amount of damage this team is doing, it's actually a wonderful pickup considering the fact that she does have Fire Giant, not to mention the fact that her team is doing so much burst damage that extra, close to 200 that she's going to be able to put out with it might turn just turn one person inside out or just turn them out completely, especially considering the fact that she'll be able to, activate her 1, get the shot off, activate their 2, and then, reapply it again with her ultimate as she lands, and then get the Pulse Irradiate combo again. So it could really wind up doing a ridiculous amount of damage.
Yeah, it's certainly one of those items you pick up just for the pick and not certainly for the overall damage for team sides. A great triple stun from Lobster in the side of the tower range. Freya drops so low here. Thor's going to go up into the air. Can they get a kill? Here's the question. There's the Poseidon ultimate finishing off the Loki. Apollo dunks down, finishing off the Freya. 1-for-1 exchange. Thor isn't done yet. Berserker Barrage in the jungle. Apollo comes in for a double kill. Youngbait doing work right now, cleaning up this team fight, but overall it was a 2-for-2 exchange. And if you look at the gold numbers, they have Fire Giant left on the 3 players who are remaining. They're 11,000 gold ahead. If you're trading evenly while you're 11,000 gold ahead, you can't be too upset about that.
All right, so another stun combo coming out there. That's going to be another kill. Lobster getting possibly a little bit greedy earns himself a fantastic combo onto Shadow Nightmare, who is level 20, so will be dead for a very long time. And then an absolutely beautiful dodge is going to ensure that he escapes from that, earning his team not only another kill, but another strip of the Fire Giant buff. So only 2 people have it left. Murder, who's not going to be able to apply the buff in its entirety, as he really doesn't scale very well with magical power. And while he does do decent damage, I mean, you're not going to see him on the front lines swinging too much. He's going to look more for opportunities to use some CC. Then again, Zimp, who does a ridiculous amount of damage, still will benefit from this greatly, especially with that extra regeneration inside of his heal. But he's going to wind up being a prime target. I mean, Zim sitting right now is one of the highest farmed characters in the game, sitting at 13,400 gold, only behind Poseidon. So you can expect that they're going to turn their focuses to Ra in the next team fight.
Yeah, and something to touch on here as well, DM, is the fact that when you're playing from behind, Vulcan is not really a character that lends itself well to that. Vulcan is a character we don't see too often in the competitive scene in general. He's one of those characters where you see him every now and then. He's a great solo and provides a lot of damage, but it's more harassment damage. He gets constant damage overall throughout the game, but not only does he have the kill potential, he gives out good harassment and good burst damage in certain situations if you can get the CC to keep him on the turret. But again, it's not really the heavy kill potential. And when you're playing Vulcan from behind, it's not really the character you want to have, because he's going to put the turrets down, he's going to pop his ultimate, but if you're not tanky enough to keep those turrets alive, they're just going to die in the big AoE, and all of a sudden Vulcan's not really contributing much to the team fight. It's a lot of hit and miss coming out here for the Vulcan himself, so that's something that Bipolar Method has to be aware of, the fact that they really need to have great positioning and good engagement to win these team fights, because they're playing with a character that may not be the strongest.
I've always considered Vulcan. I think he would be amazing if his turret scaled on attack speed. I think that'd be really, really, possibly even too much. But rotating over towards the Gold Fury, it looks like they do count the respawn out completely, possibly waiting for an opportunity to see them on the map. But Hyrox does show himself, as does Badger. Looking at the Hands of the Gods situation, only level 2 onto Badger right now, where they do have Hand of the Gods level 3 on Bacchus. And then, of course, Zimp having Fist of the Gods as well, which is equivalent to Hand of the Gods too. So there will be opportunities for them to really go for it. Jumping in there, Hyrox taking way too much damage, gets blown up completely. And now Badger's taking a lot too, he's going to be able to push back. Spoo activating his ultimate, dropping the Inferno Cannon for some damage. They're actually going to focus onto Murder, which is the Bacchus, who is very tanky, scopes out a lot of it, and then immediately escapes. So far, 1-1 right now, as Funball does get picked up as well. Level 20 for a level 19. So far, neither team really gaining a strong advantage, possibly in the advantage of Bipolar Method there, as there was a 1-level difference. But you do have to consider, once again, that Loki's stacks are thrown to the ether, and half of the ones that he had farmed out are going to be stripped off once again.
Cool. Free. We started here for Exposed Secrets. All 4 players with Bipolar Method are grouping up, trying to contest this. It's going to be a tough split for them, and it looks like Exposed Secrets is going to go ahead and leash it. They don't want to give away anything. A smart play by Exposed Secrets. Bacchus at low HP, Poseidon at half HP. They're just going to go ahead and disengage here. And since they're so far ahead, they have the advantage. They don't really want to give any reason for Bipolar Method to get back into this. If that did not go in their favor, that would put Bipolar Method in a closer gap, able to come back into this game. So they just play it safe, they back off, they play the war of attrition and tighten the noose slowly and slowly to the point where they can definitely win. I mean, they're already up 10,000 gold, about 10.3k right now. A great gold distance as well as experience. You see a slight gold swing as Sobek is quite far behind level 16 at this current point in time, and Loki is yet to level 19. So you can see a good experience lead, but an incredible gold lead, and they're just going to let it go here. Looks like they're going to come back and try and get the backswing on, grab the Gold Fury while Bipolar Method is busy in the middle lane. But at the 33-minute mark, this game is definitely Exposed Secret's hands.
I mean, it's definitely their game to lose. They're rotating over here. I don't know if fighting for this objective is really smart right now. They don't really need the extra gold, and the experience will be almost completely wasted as Bobbykoff is getting close to 20, as is Murder, and they have 3 level 20s on their team. Then again, Bipolar Method in the same situation could be pointing out that they don't really need the gold as well. Badger getting caught off. 1 ultimate used there to ensure that he goes down. Actually, 2. They used the Intoxicate as well, so 2 ultimates down for the next team fight, but they're not going to have their initiator or the person that's really doing most of the CC. Loki may be looking for an opportunity here, but he actually gets banished out and then dropped right into the whirlpool there. It's going to push him out pretty far, and Hyrule going to get picked up. So far, 2 for 0 exchange. Youngbei jumping down into the Shadow Nightmare is going to be able to earn 1, and a great use of the moves there will ensure that he gets out safely as well. And now is coming up behind him to try to get something done. Exposed Secrets with that level 3 Hand of the Gods will earn themselves the Gold Fury, but kind of at what cost? I mean, they lost 1 person there. They didn't really need the buff. They could have just escaped there and taken their 2 for 0, but Lobster, able to barely get out, is going to make sure that he stays alive. If he falls down here, that could be a Phoenix opportunity.
A very interesting team fight coming out there. BM ended up getting a little bit of the tough stick. I mean, there's still about 11,000 gold behind right now. Freya might have an opportunity to grab the Apollo. Apollo just kind of just backing while Freya swings at him. Apollo got the dunking, which is enough to kill off the Poseidon. A great pickup there by Youngbei. Definitely something you want to look towards. And it takes a lot of practice discipline to scan through a hectic team fight and find the proper kill and opportunity you need to get an advantage out of it, especially when you're playing from behind like Bipolar Method is. Now, they're not that far behind in the kill department. If you look at the tower situation, it's relatively even. Of course, Exposed Secrets has 2 towers up on Bipolar Method, which is a decent amount of gold, but it certainly doesn't spell out to a 12,000 gold difference, which we're seeing right now here at the 35-minute mark. So certainly they were looking to get a big team fight win, possibly a Fire Giant or a tower or 2 out of that. And one of the big things that Bipolar Method can do right now, and certainly since they do have tier 3 Hand of the Gods, is if they can steal away the Fire Giant, they will not necessarily be able to win the game, but they will at least delay it, because if Exposed Secrets gets denied that Fire Giant, they will not have what they need to push in with crushing force.
Given their tower advantage, their Gold Fury now 3 for 0, it should definitely be equated that their farming is just much, much stronger on Exposed Secrets this game. They're sitting about 3,000 to possibly 3,500 gold ahead just in farm, and you can see that reflected in the levels. You have 420s and a 16 versus 420s and a 19. Even Murder, who has been pretty far behind throughout the game in terms of just his team, is sitting far and away ahead of most of the people on Bipolar Method, sitting above 3 of the members at 13,400. I'm surprised he hasn't actually opted to sell the Midas boots and maybe go for a little bit more tankiness with the reinforced boots, or maybe start finishing up that Void Blade. But you see them now fighting for this gold. For the Fire Giant. Hand of the Gods 3 at this point will be back off the cooldown, so they're going to have to ensure that Sobek stays out of there, or he will have a steal opportunity. Now Lobster getting stunned out there is also going to get hit by the Intoxicate, and then will become immediately drunk. Is now kind of stumbling away out of the fight. He does get jumped on, but barely able to escape. The Tectonic Rift's going to be good there. Offensive beats to ensure he can run through the noxious fumes, and is going to sub himself out there immediately and wash that fight out completely.
Yeah, they accomplished what they wanted to do there, is just pull them off of the Fire Giant, give them a reason to disengage, and they did give them that reason. The question is, how much do they sacrifice to do that? A lot of cooldowns used there, good engagement from the Agni, but Agni is now forced to retreat back. He teleports back to the mid lane. He realizes the dire situation and the sense of urgency that the team needs to have, so they come back to this Fire Giant. The Fire Giant is dropping slowly here from Exposed Secrets, now coming in for the engagement. They're going to disengage immediately and jump in on the team fight. There's the belly flop. Poseidon ultimate comes out as well. The raw snipe doing tons of damage. Augie is already in the dirt. Poseidon finishes off the Vulcan as well. Each damage gets popped with Poseidon. Poseidon is still alive at this point in time, now going after Hyrock, who's going to fall as well. Poseidon gets picked off by Youngbait, just doing so much damage with a huge flanking maneuver, picking off the Raw as well. Youngbait doing more and more work. Sobek gets picked off. Now it's just Apollo surrounded by 3 players, getting hit by the Fire Giant, and 1 hit from Funball will be a double kill and a deicide. The Fire Giant is now exposed and vulnerable. 5 players dead for Bipolar Method. They did the best that they could, but with the gold disadvantage and the fact that Exposed Secrets was definitely prepared to disengage and go in on that team fight, they lost 5 for 2 and nearly the Fire Giant. They're just going to disengage and go for towers and hope they don't lose too much. They obviously don't want to get a 3-man Fire Giant when they don't really need to. Obviously they can wait for the respawns, come back, get some towers, and get that Fire Giant buff.
They're definitely going to grab themselves a Phoenix as well. Those two there in Funball and Murder just diving the tower to ensure that they can get it done as fast as possible. And then Thor actually going back to clear the creep wave to ensure that they're going to have a little bit more defense. Murder just jumping right in, no fear whatsoever. I don't know if they're going to have the damage to be able to do this until the creeps get there, who have finally respawned. But you do see that the Bulwark of Hope has gone there, so it doesn't look like they're going to have an opportunity. Not really sure what Thor is doing as they decided to split push. That would have been a Phoenix if they decided to stick together, but Bobby running over towards the other side of the map, looks like on the right side, is pushing up towards this tower and probably won't even have enough damage to grab it. But it should be considered that there are 7 archers sitting there, as well as 3 Cyclopses. But Lobster jumping over is going to be able to clear them very quickly and save this tower and his team from losing another 1,500 gold.
Yes, they're up about 14,000 gold right now on Exposed Secrets. They have the map control, they have the ward vision. They're going to group up and definitely try to pressure this Fire Giant yet again. Now, of course, that 5 for 2 exchange as well as a middle tower is still going to be a win for Exposed Secrets, even though they didn't get a Phoenix or the Fire Giant. They don't really have to have big wins at this point. They're so far ahead. They have control of everything they need to be doing. So you see an excellent flank coming out from Apollo, played by Youngbait in the backside of that team fight, getting 2 kills for his team, turning a possible deicide clutch ace with no kills exchanged into a 2 for 5, the best he possibly could have done. But again, they're so far behind that they just can't have heads-up team fights like that. They have to be a little bit more cunning in their engagements because of the raw difference between the two teams. Pound for pound, they're not going to be able to exchange blows like they would want to. So we're going to see 5 players from Bipolar Method grouping up on the right side of the jungle. The Fire Giant is available to be taken. The question is, can they steal it away, or will they wait for Exposed Secrets to go after it? I certainly don't think they can start it by themselves. If Exposed Secrets is paying attention, that would be an easy team fight win for Exposed Secrets to come in and mop up. But again, they don't really want to give away a free Fire Giant, which they might be doing right now as they are backing to the base. They have no teleports, or they have teleport to the tier 2 tower in the right lane. But again, they're starting the Fire Giant. The Fire Giant's going to drop to about half HP. Bacchus is leading the charge there, able to handle the gods with the tier 3. Sobek needs to get in there and get the hand of the gods tier 3 on it to steal it away, possibly even sacrifice himself to slow this game down. Otherwise, if it's a free Fire Giant, Exposed Secrets may take away this game. The Fire Giant is down. They have the Fire Giant buff. Now go after the Sobek. Sobek may get caught out here. The belly flop throws him up, and the stun comes out from the Augie. Excellent play there. The Thor goes up into the air. Who's he going to dunk on is the question. He might go for the Augie. He's going to come in down. He's going to aims for it. Lands on the Augie. There's the Berserker Barrage. Dashes away immediately. Tectonic Rift to follow up. But again, no kills exchanged. A free Fire Giant, and Bipolar Method is on tilt.
I mean, right now, 31 to 22. They've lost every objective so far, only earning themselves 2 level 1 towers in the process. Jumping right into the Phoenix. A great combination there is going to blow up Badger to ensure that their CC is aptly reduced. And then they're going to try to push down this Phoenix as fast as possible, but not before Lobster has something to say about it. Raining 2 bombs, allowing Youngbait to get in there and get some kills. And Hyrock finally showing himself. Jumps in there, gets a great stun off, but unfortunately the amount of damage they're able to put forth is a little bit too much. Zimp counters there with a beam, which they dodge, putting them in a great position for Frey to jump in as well. He gets the stun off onto one person there. Bobby jumping in. He's going to be able to use Path of Flames to get out. The Phoenix sitting at critical health actually drops right there. I'm sorry, 2 for 1 exchange so far for Exposed Secrets, plus a Phoenix, on top of the fact that they did grab Fire Giant already, moving up towards the right, the left side of your map, I guess, to push these creeps up and then try to get inside that second Phoenix as fast as possible.
Yeah, certainly 14,000 gold up, about to get bigger as they clear out the gold fury here. There's no way Bipolar Method can contest this with 3 players up. And, no tank. I mean, obviously Vulcan be the only one tanky there around. Has a little bit of a damage though with the Focused Voidstone and the Doom Orb, but they have no vision either, nor do they have the gold advantage. So all of a sudden that 14k turns into 16k as they clear out the Gold Fury, and it's looking to be a grim situation for Bipolar Method. Obviously they have the right idea in mind. You saw the flank come out. The combination of Apollo and Agni finish off the kill on Bacchus in front of the Phoenix there, so a good pickup. But again, the Loki came from the flank, and it just wasn't enough. They just don't have the gold or the the overall influence to win team fights, even when they have a good engagement. So they have to play this very, very close to the chest, very, very intelligent and clever, and make sure they make some smart plays to get slowly back into this game, because a grandiose gesture may not be enough to get them back because they're just so far behind.
In this case, even if they played the next team fight perfectly, even if they managed to put themselves in the best possible situation and get a 5-for-0 kill onto Exposed Secrets, that's not going to equate to enough time to give them more than possibly one tower and one Phoenix. With that said, they're going to have to put themselves 2 team fights ahead. And that, I mean, complete dominant team fights for them to be able to be back in this game. It's certainly not, I guess, impossible, but it's something they're going to have to work very hard towards. And they have to be a little bit more careful on who they're attacking. It seems like they're putting a lot of damage onto the tanks, going for Murder and Zimp a lot. And Zimp, who is extremely hard to kill, not to mention has amazing amount of healing, is one of the targets you really want to try to avoid. Bait out his cooldowns and then jump onto Funball, jump onto Bobby, the people who are really getting into the brink of the situation and just starting to burst down. But they're moving up here towards the Phoenix. A dive into Lobster. They recognize the Lobster's the threat here. He's going to take the Intoxicate. Murder taking a little under half of his HP there as they start moving once again up towards the Phoenix. Murder's cooldowns are back up once again, and he's going to look for an opportunity to jump in and maybe possibly try to end this game.
We see Apollo kind of hanging in the wings here, looking for an opportunity to flank yet again. He's been so successful in doing up until this point. The Banish comes out on the Sobek. Looks like they want to go in on this. There's the Raw Beam, just barely hitting the Sobek, but again, not doing a whole lot of damage. Apollo still biding his time, coming from the right side. Jumping on top is the activation, but the Loki ultimate actually gets hit by the Aegis Damon. Here's Apollo up in the air, going to dunk down, throwing the Bacchus into wall. Tectonic Rift and Whirlpool, they're going to group up on top of Apollo immediately. As soon as he hits the ground, the Serenity might be enough. No, the hammer hits him and throws him into the dirt. That was a tough situation for Apollo, and they turned on him so hard, and that is going to be one of the toughest situations you get into. Your if you go for a flank and your teammates don't react fast enough, you all of a sudden get collapsed on, and that kind of window is what happened to Apollo there. Completely conquered. There goes initiation of the Agni being forced back. There's the beads and the Aegis activation, which might be followed up by an ultimate. Whirlpool lands, but he dashes away just in time. The Raw Snipe comes out, but doesn't have the distance. Now we see Phoenix minions strolling in from the middle lane. The left lane is under siege, going to be dropping down, or the right lane is under siege, going to be dropping down quite soon here as Bacchus gets picked off from the Phoenix, and Spoo actually picks off the Poseidon as well. They overstayed their welcome, and this is what you have to be careful about. Regardless of how far ahead you are, if you get too greedy, you're still up against Bipolar Method.
I mean, 100% correct. And one of the things I always like to point out is that whenever you see Agni in the hands of Lobster or Spoo, even if you're winning the team fight, you have to be careful. They have the opportunity to turn that around so quickly. And that's what you're seeing from Lobster week after week after week. It's just they kind of move up, they group up for like 1 second, and suddenly you're 2 bombs, the stun, the flame wave, and everyone's sitting in half health. And that's what we're seeing over and over in this fight as well. Despite the fact that his team really can't equate them to too many kills in these team fights, Lobster is absolutely trying his hardest, and he's playing amazingly throughout. And finally, Badger's getting himself some much-needed experience, getting closer and closer to level 20, and ensuring that maybe his ultimate can do some, maybe just a little bit more damage to ensure that they could push forward. But even with that team fight win, I don't know if they're going to have enough damage to really equate it to an objective. You see them already not going for any of the towers, but Fire Giant has respawned. Only 3 people available for Exposed Secrets as opposed to all 5 sitting on Bipolar Method. But the 2 remaining members are going to be grouping up as soon as they can. Murder's coming up now, 3 seconds until Shadow Nightmare, and you can expect they're all going to be fighting over the Fire Giant.
We have a teleport in hand for the Poseidon. Teleports right to the middle lane as well as the Bacchus. They want to get out here as fast as they possibly can. They realize this Fire Giant is incredibly crucial for their victory. They're up by 16,000 gold, but that may not be the biggest thing. If Bipolar Method holds on to the Fire Giant, they may be able to turtle for a little while longer. You see them starting the Fire Giant now. Sobek is in position, but Loki and Apollo are pretty far away. Apollo may be forced to use his ultimate to defend this. They're doing a lot of damage to the Fire Giant, dropping out half HP. They do have the 25% guaranteed kill from the Bacchus. Banish comes out from the Sobek. It's going to be enough. He's going to get blocked by the Thor. Excellent play there by Exposed Secrets. They get the fire giant. No, it's so low. The hand of the gods needs to come out. Exposed Secrets did get the fire giant. Here's the initiation from the Freya. She's up in the air. Aegis Gambits get popped there. Looks like Poseidon will survive to live another day. Thor going up in there is going to dunk down pretty soon. It lands on top of the Agni, and the Agni being forced to back off here. Ra is already dead there. Now going after the Freya. Freya dropping so low. Loki swinging wildly at the air, but the Spoo turret will finish him off. Now Thor goes back up into the air, goes into the air for the first time, dunking down on the backside on top of the Agni. Agni gets picked off by Thor, and looks like so far it's a 2-for-1 exchange, although they do have Fire Giant on Exposed Secrets. They're going to go ahead and disengage here. 4 players are chasing down Thor. He blinks away. Isn't going to be enough, though. The minions are blocking the charge spray. He's still looking for an angle, grabs it, throws him directly into it. No, pops the beads. Excellent play there by the Thor, and it looks like he will survive. The Thumper turret comes down, but they're actually going to turn this around here. Here comes a return aggression going on top of the Sobek. Berserker Barrage comes out by the Apollo. Looks like the Poseidon is here. The Whirlpool comes out. He blinks out just in time. Sobek goes for the charge spray, lands on top, throws him into the turret. The turret might be enough. The Aegis Gambit gets popped. Is it going to be enough is the question. Here comes the Loki going for the stealth kill, finishes off the Thor and gets that off. Looks like Apollo and Sobek are dead, but Thor loses his life. Will Loki get out in time? It looks like he just might. On the backside, Vulcan's doing the best he can. Loki disengaged, and I would say that's probably best case scenario for Bipolar Method.
Oh, but the title surge on the backside. Great snipe there by Shadow Nightmare is going to ensure that he does not get out safely. So ultimately, despite the fact that they lost 2 members immediately, great turnaround by Murder and great turnaround by Bobby, not to mention an absolutely brilliant shot there from Shadow Nightmare and a great escape by him as well, given the fact that he was super low health, turns that fight from a 2-0 for Bipolar Method to a 4-3 for Exposed Secrets. 2 of their members, again, have already respawned, so they're going to have a chance to get this down in the middle lane again. This Phoenix, I am so completely floored about that title surge. What an unbelievable shot that was.
Yeah, definitely securing that kill on Loki is incredibly important. Not only does he drop the Heartseeker attacks and force Loki to consider selling it and buying another item, but also make sure that is on cooldown so there's less people for Bipolar Method to utilize. Here comes the Kraken on top of Agni's head! Did not even realize it was going to come out and gets bursted before he can dash away. A free kill for Exposed Secrets. Poseidon playing a fantastic match. Shadow Nightmare coming out to play today, now pressuring the left side Phoenix. The middle Phoenix is down. The left side Phoenix is dropping solo. Charge spray comes out for Sobek, lands on no one. The damage comes out a little bit from the Vulcan. The Belch of the Gods is going to stun the Sobek in place, but very tanky is that Sobek. The Phoenix is getting lower and lower and lower. They're still railing into it. They're going to be very careful. Here comes Loki. The girdle mic gets popped. He's in stealth, jumps onto the backside, actually drops down Freya so quickly. The Aegis gets popped, but he ends up falling there. Looks like Freya will fall as well as the Poseidon. The Ra ultimate comes out. Apollo doing damage here. Ra's going to fall. It's going to be a huge exchange. A 3-for-1. Bach is now getting surrounded and chased down. Apollo goes up in the air. Thor tries to come in to contribute, but is he going to overcommit is the question. A great block, but Apollo is still up in the air. Looks like he's waiting for this time to come in. There goes the Berserker Barrage to defend himself against the knockup. Thor goes up in the air and survives by the skin of his teeth and flies away, but Bipolar Method says, no, we are not out of this yet.
You know, I love Badger right there as he starts running towards where Thor is going to run, and every player does the same thing. He's low, we can chase him, we can find him, and then he just, like, half the map away, and you're like, okay, yeah, I forgot, that goes really far. And then he just comes, backs up, and starts continue farming, just to try to get a little bit more gold for his team. But a great stop there. I mean, they really shut down Lobster. I mean, he was instantly dead, but then Youngbei comes in with the amount of damage that he has. And it should note at this point, he does have full build, both Rage and Deathbringer finished up there, so there's a lot of crit potential. And then, of course, penetration from both, from Warrior Tabby, Executioner, and Titan's Bane. So there is a very serious amount of damage. It should also be considered that his passive when stacked is going to give him 50% bonus attack speed, on top of the fact that he's getting attack speed from both Soul Eater and Executioner. So there is a lot of potential for him to do a pretty ridiculous amount of damage, as we just saw.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, they're never out of it. They have the position, they have the damage, and Youngbei all game long sitting at 14-6. Holding it down for his team and just shouldering that weight. They always have to be careful because even when they get a good engagement, Apollo is always waiting in the wings, waiting for an opportunity to just flank and pick off the swishy characters. And we saw High Rock with an incredible initiation over there in the left-hand lane. Waits for his opportunity, comes in stealth, pops the girdle, and bursts Freya in literally 3 hits. Assassinate, Aim Strike, and the Vanish combination was enough to 3-hit the Freya. Poseidon to follow up right after as Bipolar Method jumps in to contribute to the team fight. They are still 18,000 gold behind, 17,000 gold behind, but at this point when everyone is starting to finish off their builds, the gold means less and less and less. The Fire Giant's about to respawn, and Exposed Secrets knows it. They're going to go in and try to steal this away, kind of get the vision up here. Lots of wards being placed down. Everyone's buying consumables. The potions are up. You can see people are getting prepared for this next team fight. This next team fight may be the game, DM.
Well, I mean, like you said, the gold equates to much less as the game goes on further and further. So really pushing at this point, everybody's level 20. One single death could really turn this entire thing around. Now, Fire Giant sitting a little bit under 75% health. You see Apollo coming around the backside. He's going to have a good opportunity to really chunk down Funball if he gets caught there. Now, last time we saw Loki jumped on Funball and got that vanish dot off before she was able to use Valkyrie's discretion. So when she went up, she actually died almost immediately. And look at the damage getting put out. You see Freya has not built any, and I mean any, defense whatsoever, not even Voidstone. So anytime that anyone jumps onto her, the damage just starts to just stack up and stack up and stack up, and suddenly she's below half, she's below a quarter, and then she's down, and that's a lot of their damage here. So, guys at home, make sure you're building defense. But going back into the Fire Giant here, sitting now at about half, you see Murder diving in there. Badger's looking for a reason to jump in there and steal it. The health getting down to about 40%. The Kraken goes off. The damage is insane right now. First character's about to be picked off. You see Shadow Nightmare needing to escape, and Lobster does pick him up. BM's in a great opportunity to end this game here. Bipolar Method destroyed the Fire Giant. 4 down. About to be a deicide. Are they going to chase him down? In this case, they really should just push down mid lane. Forget about the Bacchus for now. He doesn't have the opportunity to really stop him. And a great play from Badger here. He's going to jump back and ensure that the Minotaur doesn't die, who is already getting put onto tilt there. As 2 members now push up towards the middle, 2 members push up towards the right side, and only 1 line of defense in Murder is going to be able to stop them from winning this game. Bipolar Method down, but absolutely never out.
Absolutely. So they have about 40 seconds to work with here, and they have to make every second count. Bipolar Method coming out strong in that Fire Giant engagement. They need to push as much as they possibly can. They're still behind a little bit, but again, as we keep mentioning, the gold remains less and less, and once everyone's done with their builds and gets their potions, the gold is meaningless. They have a 12,000 gold lead, but how much does it mean right now when Bipolar Method is still alive and all of Exposed Secret is dead? If they go for the Minotaur, they have about 15 seconds to do it. They're going to go in and try to end this game. 12,000 gold behind. The Meteor is out, forcing Bacchus away. The Minotaur is at half HP. Could it be? Is this going to be the end of the match when no one responds yet? The Minotaur is getting lower and lower and lower. Loki's laying into it, and Bipolar Method is going to take the match. A huge upset. Bipolar Method comes from behind. They have been losing the entire time, but they have never been out. Their morale has been high. They put in the strategy, and they win it in the first game when no one thought they were going to.
Never give up. Never surrender. Plain and simple. Like we said, you're down, but you're never out. If you can delay and delay and delay, eventually, even if you're behind by 12,000 gold, the goal is going to equate to less and less. As people start to build their entire builds, consider the fact that they're spending that money on teleports. They're spending it on wards. And the fact that once people have built 6 items, there's nowhere else to go. So going towards the end of the game, there's really nothing else for them to spend it on. And look at, I know I've mentioned his name like 15 times today, but Lobster broke 50,000 damage in that game. Unreal.
Something to note as well is Raw actually dropped down 30,000 healing. An excellent job keeping his team alive in the positioning there. Exposed Secrets played so fantastically that entire game. They had the rotations, they had the positioning, they had the vision, they had the itemization, and it just came down to perfect play, but they just didn't have enough to finish it. Bipolar Method had a few clutch turtles. They pushed them away from the base. They lost. At one point, they had almost all their Phoenixes down. I think they have 2 Phoenixes down. They hit about 16,000 gold down at one point. They were so downtrodden, but Bipolar Method never quits. There's a situation, I'm sure, where everyone in chat is like, I don't know why they're not surrendering. Why don't they just give up, go into game 2, and make sure they're in high spirits? But Bipolar Method said, no, we're not out of this. We are never going to let this win go away. And right there, that is why you never surrender, because once the game hits its threshold point where everyone is capped out in their itemization, gold is meaningless. They were so far behind in gold, but what are you going to buy when you have your potions, you have all your items? It's just, there's nothing left to buy. The gold doesn't mean anything. You're full up on consumables. What does it matter? And right there, Bipolar Method proves it. it. They got their itemization, and it comes down to teamwork. Hyrox 7 and 13. He was so far behind. Badger 3 and 10. Spoot lost all of his stacks on his Doomar repeatedly. Young Bay just working so hard to get the flanks, and once they saw an opportunity, they seized it. Exposed Secrets got way too greedy on that last Fire Giant and just got completely collapsed on. They were taking too much damage from the Fire Giant and got completely wiped. And not only does Bipolar Method push in to win it when they're 12,000 gold behind, they did it when Exposed Secrets was about to spawn in about 5 seconds.
You know, Smite does something that I love more than any other game, and it gives, or any other MOBA rather, and it gives you all the information that you need to make informed decisions to allow your players to put yourself in the best possible situation in every scenario. Now, in this case, one of the biggest things is gold. It tells you, like, I could be down 15 kills on my team, but we could be ahead in gold due to objectives and farming. Now, in this case, going towards the end of the game, you can look. Exposed Secret says, we're 12k ahead. We have no problem. We'll just tank the Fire Giant. We'll do whatever we want. They'll counter and we'll kill them, and it'll just be like every other fight. But what they're not recognizing that if you hit that tab button and check out their build, there is no lack of gold in that build. That build was insane. And given the fact that Sobek becomes basically unkillable at certain points in the game, and they focus their damage on him repeatedly just to try to stop the CC, this allowed Spoo to get in there, get that ultimate off, which is one of the reasons he was able to do 41,000 damage in that game. He was able to just completely control their mindset. And time after time when they killed Badger, they think, once he's dead, we have nothing to be threatened by. Hyrock will jump in, we'll kill him. Lobster will jump in, we'll kill him. And then Young Bay will try to run away. It's the same time same game every single time. But then going towards the end of the game when that gold didn't matter anymore and they couldn't burst down Badger in 4 hits, the Kraken was wasted. You know, the Intoxicate was wasted. Bobby jumped up way too late. Zimp couldn't put his healing circle down on top of some of the stuff that Lobster was doing. So by the time their strategy really started to switch up and they recognized the fact that they were going to lose the team fight, it was too little too late. BM took advantage, got 3 kills, grabbed the Fire Giant, got the 4th kill, ignored the Bacchus like they should have, pushed the lane, and dropped the Minotaur for the win. Brilliant.
I think this is one of those matches that people are going to, talk about for very, very long periods of time. I mean, you look back on this and you look at it. I'm sure no one in chat expected Bipolar Method to pull this victory out, and it's so important to look at a game of Smite as not just a single event, but an experience overall. It's more of something that you go through and you think your way through everything. It's all about the thought, about the strategy, about the positioning. There's so many aspects to a game like Smite that you can't look at one thing and point it and say that's why. So you look at the picking stage. The picking stage is incredibly important. One of the most important things to set yourself off right. You look at the laning phase, of course, also very important. And that's when it was all even. I mean, Exposed Secrets had some good picks. Bipolar Method had some good picks. Even playing with Vulcan, which no one really expected today, they came out and the laning phase was even. They're even in gold. They were even in positioning. Everything was all even. And then all of a sudden, Exposed Secret came out, and boom! All of a sudden, they take the advantage. They go up about 1,000 gold, then 2,000 gold, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000. Exposed Secrets controls the entire game. They get the wards up, the counter wards. They get the great rotations. Bipolar Method was a little bit slow on their rotations compared to Exposed Secrets, and by slow, I mean literally like 2 to 3 seconds, which at this level of play is incredibly important and vastly, vastly influential on the team fights that happen. But Exposed Secrets, I mean, they were controlling everything. But that's why it's so important to end the match when you have that kind of advantage. They were up 16,000 gold at one point. That is an insurmountable amount of gold, but they just didn't end it in time, and Bipolar Method started farming, playing it safe. Turtling, and that's why it's so important to think your way through everything. Bipolar Method switched their strategy up. They got the right items. They got enough defense. They had good positioning. Every single team fight, even though they were so far behind, 12 to 16,000 gold, Young Bay had excellent flanking position. On team fights that were literally so far beyond lost, Young Bay comes in and gets a double kill. Hyrock initiates, gets a triple kill. I mean, it's so important for their positioning. They just played it beautifully, and the only reason they were losing those team fights is because they were so far behind. So as the game goes further and further, and Exposed Secrets has trouble ending the game, when that gold means less and less, and eventually means nothing, when Bipolar Method has better engagements, when they're on equal footing, Bipolar Method crushed Exposed Secrets on top of the Fire Giant. It was so inspiring to watch them come out, have perfect positioning, use all their abilities effectively, finish off every single player of Exposed Secrets, except for Bacchus, who just, what's Bacchus going to do? He just decides to run around, tries to defend the middle tower, but there's nothing he can do up against 4 players on Bipolar Method. They just dominated that team fight, come in, push it all the way to the base, and they knew it. They knew they had an opportunity to win that match, and it was probably their best chance. They may not get that opportunity again, and they didn't let it slide. And this is something that we'll see in less experienced teams, they don't make that hustle. They don't have that sense of urgency to push it into the base and get something done with the advantage they have. I mentioned it right when it happened. They had 40 seconds right when that team fight ended, when people were starting to respawn. They had 40 seconds to do something with it. And 40 seconds doesn't seem like a lot when you look at it in the grand scheme of things, but 40 seconds to do freely uninhibited actions when you're up against a team of 5 is incredibly important, and they used it to their fullest.